Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa and happy almost Valentine's Day. I'm Karen Keith and delighted to have everybody here today, and we are going to get heart healthy. Yay! Our song and pledge by DJ Morrill Ingram, on the piano, Tom Wolfe. Visitor introductions by past President Steve Clark, and now our invocation will be given by past President Del Dreyer.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious and loving God, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. These are the words with which President Lincoln began his speech given at one of the most difficult times in our history. Today we pause to give thanks for President Lincoln and the other 43 men who have held the office of President of the United States. We are thankful to you for guiding these men and all the other men and women who serve as leaders of our local, state, and national governments. It is their service and the support of our citizens that we enjoy living in this great country with the freedom and opportunity it offers. As we listen to our speaker today, enlighten us with his message and help us remember that a healthy heart goes beyond the genes we inherit, but includes a healthy lifestyle as well. To that end, we thank you for the good food we've enjoyed today and ask your blessing on us as we leave this Rotary meeting to serve you by serving those who need our help. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm smiling really big because I've always wanted to be in the Men of Note. And haven't been allowed. But today, I get to sing with the Men of Note as they join me and you in singing God Bless America. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. You're attending club number 2500 in District 6110. As I announce the name of the visitors today, would you please stand with your Rotarian host and we will introduce you, applaud you after all have been introduced. Don Woolsey has his wife today, Elise. Michael and Dana Burks have their daughter, Kelsey. Alicia Herrera has Musad Muzami with Effective Teaching Learning. Jack McGlumphy has his lovely sister, Dana. And Steve Mason has Julie Antis from the OSU Foundation. And our speaker, Dr. Gaffney, has as his guest today is Nurse Jessica Adams. Would you please welcome all these guests? Visiting Rotarians from the Bartlesville Rotary Club, Nan Buehlinger. Hi, Nan. From Southside Rotary, past District Governor Tom Clark. From the Sand Springs Club, Assistant Governor Clay Langley. And also from the Sand Springs Club, Howard Siegel. Thanks for making Rotary a part of your day today, and please come back anytime.
All right, thank you, Steve. Our Rotary sponsors this week are Mark Colmia, Tropical Plant Design, David Wolfers, James Potts, and Wolfers, Inc., and we encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. Please thank all of today's sponsors and all of our volunteers like the tech team, Jerry McCart, Steve Perkins, and Eric Ortega. We appreciate you guys so much, and we put them through the paces for the last several months. Also, John Raines, Nicole is looking for you. All right, let's hear it for all our volunteers. Nicole, John is over here. All right. Past President Ed Monette is standing in for Trey Walling, and he's going to introduce Seth Davis.
I guess it's not a surprise now who our MC is going to be. You just spilled the beans. Before I start, I'd like to take a moment of privilege, if I may. As you know, the IBA Awards Banquet will be celebrating its 21st event this summer, and its success is due to a whole bunch of folks, but there are two that I would like to make special recognition of today, and if you'll join me in applauding them. Without these two guys, the event won't happen. That is Ron Butler and Mac Finlayson. Could we give them a round of applause? Ron makes sure everything runs smoothly, and Mac is largely responsible for our honorees, our MCs, and our keynote speakers, and in maintaining a relationship over the years that has made this event what it is. So thank you, guys. Now, on with the announcement. The Rotary Club of Tulsa and the IBA Awards Committee are pleased to announce that Seth Davis will return as the MC for the 21st Annual IBA Awards Banquet to be held June 16th. This will be Seth's third time as MC and second in a row. Seth has been a writer for Sports Illustrated since 1995 and has been the in-studio analyst for CBS Sports coverage of college basketball and the NCAA basketball tournament. He is also the on-air host for CampusInsider.com. Seth has written 3 books. His second, published in 2009, entitled When March Went Mad, is about the 1979 college basketball season that culminated in the Magic Johnson-led Michigan State team meeting Larry Bird's Indiana State team in the finals, and it was a New York Times bestseller. His most recent book, Wooden, A Coach's Life, was just released and is already on the New York Times bestseller list. You will recall that Coach Wooden received our President's Award at the 1994 IBA Awards Banquet. Seth has become quite a fan of our event, so much so that last year he was our MC on his wife's birthday. So we haven't heard how that played out once he got home. If you'll now turn your attention to the video screen, Seth has made a...
Everybody in Oklahoma, this is Seth Davis for Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, Campus Insider. Everybody in Oklahoma, this is Seth Davis for Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, Campus Insiders, and I can't tell you how thrilled and truly honored and humbled I am to be back this year for the Henry Iba Awards dinner. As some of you may know, this is my 3rd time serving as the Master of Ceremonies and my 2nd in a row, so I feel like I've kind of got a dynasty here going, a winning streak that I want to keep going because, first of all, it's a great cause, it's a wonderful community, and to see the whole city of Tulsa turn out for this wonderful cause, it's just very inspiring to me. I get to meet really cool people. Last year, Adrian Peterson, he shook my hand. I think he actually slightly broke it because my hand hurt for like 2 months, but it was worth it to meet AP and Swen Cash and be with John Calipari last year and all the wonderful guests that you've had in the past. And again, to have my name even remotely associated with a legend like Henry Iba, to be around somebody like Eddie Sutton and all that he's accomplished in basketball and still to this day, his contributions to the game. It's just a thrill. It really is. And as some of you may know, I recently published a book on John Wooden called Wooden, A Coach's Life, as a definitive biography of John Wooden, and talks a lot about the history of basketball and the role that Henry Iba played in the history of basketball and the rivalry that not only Henry Iba had with John Wooden, but the people who learned from Coach Iba, Mr. Iba, and carried along his legacy and the legacy that he built along with people like John Wooden. So it's a very timely thing for me to be coming back to Tulsa in June. The good news is that this year the event is not happening on my wife's birthday, so that'll make my house a much happier place to come home to. But again, thank you for having me back. I hope to deliver on your hopes and expectations. And I know we're going to have a great night and raise a lot of money for a great cause. So thank you, Tulsa, and I'll see you in June.
There are still tables and seats available. There is a table right outside the door, so after the meeting, drop by and make sure you make your reservations. And Karen asked me to say the IBA committee will be meeting in room 233 immediately after this meeting. Thank you.
Now, you know, Ed worked really hard on this, and RI President and Oklahoman Ron Burton sent his congratulations on our achieving 100% participation since July 1st in support of the Rotary Foundation. So he sent this letter, and I'm going to read some of it to you. He says, I received your letter today advising me that you and past President Ed accepted my first class challenge and that the Rotary Club has 100% participation. Congratulations. So,
Well, and then it says, thanks, Karen, for all you are doing for Rotary. It's presidents like you that have made our year such a great success.
thank you, Ron. Of course, this all happened because of the team that put this together. So our foundation committee, the board of directors, and past presidents have been assisting in putting out the pins. Has everybody gotten their pins? Okay, they're going to be coming around. They've got their baggies, and they're going to come around and hand you your pins. So let's make sure everybody gets one, and then let's put them on. And I think this is a first for our club, so I really appreciate everyone who stepped up to the plate. With special thanks to our Rotary Foundation Committee, chaired by Kathleen Cohen, and of course to this man, past President Ed Monette. You made this campaign happen.
And pay particular attention to the crimson and cream colors of the badges. Thank you.
I'm so shocked that you noticed. So, it's a nice Valentine's present, right?
It is.
So, this Friday, how many of you are going to the Valentine's party? We've had over 72 people sign up, so it's going to be a hoot. We're going to the Woody Guthrie Center, and I got a chance to peek in there last Friday. It is really an amazing venue, and we'll get an opportunity to look through that as well. And I want to remind you, with these beautiful red pins that Ed loves the color, be sure to hang on to your pins, because when President Ron Burton is in Tulsa County later this year, we will want to be able to have these and wear them so we can show him en masse that we're very proud of our first class pins. Now, speaking of Valentine's Day, there are some guys dressed in beautiful red, in their beautiful ties, with their wonderful pins. They are the men of note, and they have some love songs for us in honor of the pending Valentine's Day. Let's hear it, men of note. let's hear it for again. They are fantastic. You guys, thank you so much. Jerry, thank you. Stephen, thank you. And Clay Langley, it is always nice to have you here. Thank you so much for all you're doing this year. I know it's been a busy year for you. Thanks. Let's hear it for them again. Yeah, you guys, thank you. Ben Wyndham or Bob Hunt, who wants to talk about the Club Foundation grant presentation?
Thank you, Madam President. We're pleased to introduce Mark Whitmire today. He's the Director of Services for 501 TechNet. Now that is a freestanding but a very important part of the programs dealt with by the Tulsa Community Foundation and their outreach effort to have them address the effectiveness of fundraising needs of our community nonprofits. Now particularly, let me tell you that they have helped us, our grants committee, in our overview of grant applications that deal with the need for the technical services that they perform. So we know them quite well, and they're wonderful to have with us today. They consult, advise, and assist in acquiring, refurbishing, programming, used computers, and related equipment for the various prospective charitable donors and donees here in our community. Mark is here to receive our Community Grant Foundation check. It's an amount of $7,500. I'd like for Mark to tell you what he's going to use the money for and how important their services are.
While we were breaking bread, my table mate Ben described what we do as exotic. So I'm not going to share a lot about what we do more generally. We do a lot of stuff, including refurbishing PCs. But specific to this grant and our grant request, as you can probably imagine, every year there are hundreds of fundraising events and education or training events in the nonprofit community. And in many cases, these folks that are organizing the events are scrambling at the last minute to find and locate affordable technology needs. As you know, because you've probably been to many of these events, increasingly there's a dependence on technology for guest check-in, check-out, registration, so forth and so on. So with this very generous grant, we are going to essentially put together like a SWAT team package that involves laptops, magnetic card readers, wireless printers, a Verizon hotspot, and kit it all up so that it's easily transportable and deployable. And we're going to combine that with our expertise to do setup, support, and tear down for as many of these events every year as we have capacity for. We've already got 4 events signed up. We're going to do 2 to 3 events per month. So thank you so much. We will put it to very good use.
Congratulations, Mark. And Sarge, Janet Rockefeller.
Hello. Okay, I got a lot of submissions, and I had to kind of pare it down because I didn't want to take up the entire afternoon, although it would be amusing. Okay, ready? Hit it. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but Fanny Bryce? Anybody want to say Fanny Bryce? Does anybody else remember Funny Girl but me? Okay, so that's really Claudette. Great shot, but you just couldn't tell the difference. Anyway, you were caught, gridiron, and I understand it was a whole lot of fun, so I think that's a great shot of you, Claudette. Class act. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Richard and Ann Gibbs sent me $500 for the Crescendo Awards. Applause. Their grandson, Andrew McCauley, received Mentor of the Year for the state of Iowa. That's Andrew and the governor and then the mentee. And I mean, this chokes me up. This is really great. I mean, Mentor of the Year, you know, that's a lot of time and a lot of passion for that. So I think it's fabulous. Congrats. And thanks for the fine, Richard. Rhonda, I hope you're here today. Look at your grandson. Isn't he darling? $165 from Rhonda for her grandson's first birthday, and he is just it all, and for Rhonda's birthday. So happy birthday, and thanks for the fine. And then I think I have one more. Do I have one? Oh, yeah, Dave, 55. He just kind of casually sent in a check. Oh, yeah, I'm 55, and you don't need to do anything, but here's your photo. Thank you so much for sending us the $55. Okay, and then last, I know that the picture is small, but Linda Bradshaw, another Linda Bradshaw photo for us. Just rename your paper, Linda Bradshaw Times, whatever. But, I mean, there's the gridiron picture, and then the top student speakers, the four-way test. I think that's just fabulous. So, once again, the Rotary is well represented in GTR, so thanks, Forrest. And that's all I've got. Oh, wait, I have one more thing. Julio, are you here? Okay. He didn't come up to me because I am a scary sergeant at arms, but he did want all of us to know that the Rotary Club of Tulsa was mentioned in La Prensa, which is the newspaper in Nicaragua for the Water Well Project and the donation of medical supplies. I guess we were on the front page. So,
cool.
Thank you. And it'll cost you.
In that other article that was up there, our own DJ Morrill Ingram was also in the gridiron with Claudette. And she was also honored this year for how many years, DJ? 20 years in the gridiron. So it was really a funny show. And you guys were fantastic. So congratulations. Our Rotarian of the day is John Esposito, president of Espo Fire and Water Restoration. John joined our club in January 2010, and when he's not busy fixing the disaster of the day, John can be found flying in his World War II AT-6 fighter plane that he also makes available to various charity auctions. John is a Paul Harris Fellow, so please welcome our Rotarian of the day with a big heart, John Esposito.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Frank Gaffney. Dr. Gaffney is an invasive and non-invasive cardiologist with subspecialty expertise in transesophageal echocardiography, nuclear cardiology, and coronary autography. So I took 2 courses in medical school, and one of them was handwriting, and the other was how to mumble medical words real fast. So I passed those 2 courses and I left. Yeah. In addition, he serves as a clinical associate professor of medicine at the University of Oklahoma College of Medicine, Tulsa. He completed his cardiovascular medicine fellowship at Scott White Memorial Hospital in Temple, Texas. Dr. Gaffney completed his internal medicine internship and residency at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. He then remained on staff at the Scott White Memorial Hospital for several years. Before entering his fellowship in cardiovascular medicine, Dr. Gaffney earned his medical degree from New York Medical College, Valhalla, New York, and received his Bachelor of Arts degree at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. We got a chance to visit for a little bit yesterday, and he is married to an internist that trained here at OSU. He's from New York, so he's a true Yankee, but because she trained here, they wanted to move here, so they've been here the last 10 years at Oklahoma Heart. So I thought that was really an interesting story. They have 3 children that go to Jinx, and being a Yankee like he is, I asked him, does he like OU or OSU? He wouldn't quite give me an answer, but I felt the way he was talking, he was leaning towards OSU. So anyway, we'll let him come tell us about heart health.
Thank you, John, and President Karen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I want to again thank all the Rotarians. This is a great honor. I was really kind of taken back by the men of note. I've never been able to carry a tune. It would be such a nice thing to be able to belt out a song like that. My wife, literally in church, leans over and asks me to stop singing, so it's something that'll never happen. And Miss Jessica, my nurse, is sitting up front, so did you realize you were going to get serenaded the whole day? That's wonderful. So, I got to get my little thingy here. So, I'm here because Cardiovascular disease runs rampant in human beings, and unfortunately, it runs even more rampant in Oklahoma, right? So when you come to Oklahoma and you're a cardiologist, you work a lot of weekends and a lot of holidays because there's a lot of disease in this part of the country. So let's see. It's the heart disease is Oklahoma's leading killer for both men and women. Every year, about 9,600 deaths from cardiovascular disease. When we say cardiovascular disease, we mean stroke, heart attack, congestive heart failure, all the things that can go wrong with the blood vessel system. We are ranked second highest in heart disease death rates in the United States, 242 per 100,000. I think when this statistic came out, only Mississippi was worse than us. We kind of trade back and forth between Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana, right? So heart disease as the primary diagnosis resulted in over 46,000 hospitalizations in Oklahoma. We spent $2 billion taking care of Oklahomans in the hospital, and that was in 2009. $2 billion a year in hospitalization costs for coronary artery disease, heart disease. The rate of death from heart disease in America is actually dropping. That's a wonderful thing. Since the 90s, it's dropped to 41%. Unfortunately, in Oklahoma, it's only dropped 31%. So we are lagging behind some of our other states, and that really has to do with the penetration and the amount of disease that we start out with. So we're going to have some pictures thrown in here. Everybody loves puppies. All right, so this is a... Actually, I married my wife, and she had a golden retriever, and so I've always had a golden retriever. Dogs are nice, but they're furry and hairy, and they leave mess around. So, okay, age-adjusted coronary artery disease deaths by gender. So let's take a look at these statistics. And for completeness sake, I'm just going to work off of the one slide so we can all kind of see where we're talking about. So in 2009, the American Heart Association made a call to arms that we would like to have 150,000 per 100,000 deaths. And we actually have done really well in some categories, right? From 1999 to 2007, you can see that U.S. females are doing better. Oklahoma females are doing better. By the time we get to 2007, women's heart disease survival curves are improving. The U.S. male is actually getting close to that initiative, the American Heart Association initiative. Look at Oklahoma males. We're getting better, but we're nowhere near that target. So we still have a lot of work to do in terms of getting our disease under control. So this is just another percentage of coronary artery disease deaths by age groups. Okay, so blue is under 75 years of age. Red is over 75 years of age. Look at our black males in Oklahoma. Most of them get their disease, 60% death rate before the age of 75. Hispanics, before the age of 80. And then white men, if we start breaking it down, white men do better. About a 50% get their disease-ending event at 75. Black women, Hispanic women, and then white women, they outlive us. But this is complicated. That's because we die sooner because they drive us crazy. We know that. So we got to factor that in. All right, so all comers, the age-adjusted percentage of interval of heart attack or coronary artery disease in the room, 7.5% of us have coronary artery disease. Males, 9.3, women, 6.3. So it's a very prevalent disease in the population. 1 in 10 look around and people have coronary artery disease. The thing about it, too, is that as we get older, our burden of disease becomes more likely. Let's just break it down. And these statistics are really only significant in terms of Oklahoma because of our Native American population has such an incredible burden of disease, much higher, almost twice what the white people do have in Oklahoma, and that's because of the penetration of diabetes in our Native American population. It's rampant, and the final common pathway for most people who have diabetes is to die from stroke and heart attack and congestive heart failure. So this is just kind of looking at the United States. We're going to break these things in. We have all ages, and we have under 85, and we have greater than 85. So cardiovascular disease and cancer, all ages running neck and neck. There are statistics in the last couple of years that we're doing better in terms of cardiovascular disease, and cancer might overtake us as the leading cause of death, but that is not true currently. Still cardiovascular disease, leading cause of death. As we get older, look at this. If we get to be 85%, 80 to 90% of the time, the cause of death is stroke or heart attack. So this is, for all of us, the final common pathway. We can't avoid the fact that we all put down cholesterol blockages in our arteries. But we sure as heck can try and delay this process. Okay, then this just breaks it down. Heart attacks, cardiovascular deaths rather, by age group. So you see that we do, in terms of men and women, it changes a little bit. It's about even for men and women cardiovascular deaths in the 40 to 60 age group. And then as we get older, we see that women start to have more disease. And that looks like that something's happening to women later on in life. But what really is true is that in the first years of life, women are protected from coronary artery disease, from atherosclerosis, because of the estrogens in their body. And so as estrogen leaves our body, we run about 10 years behind men in catching up with atherosclerosis. So this is a phenomenon of aging in women, not that there's something more accelerated in terms of coronary artery disease for women. But these are the statistics. 80 to 90% of the cause of death will be stroke and heart attack at the end. It's kind of sobering to think about, but that's why we're here, because we have some good news about this. So this is heart attacks. This is death from heart attacks. Younger, it's hard to believe, but 29 to 44, we still have a fair amount of heart attack burden. And this is usually people who have existing diseases that they don't know about, congenital diseases, or early accelerated atherosclerosis from diabetes. In the age groups of 45 to 64, 250,000 people have a heart attack. Men have a heart attack in that age group every year. That number is better than it used to be. And then as we get older, greater than 65, 400,000 heart attack deaths every year. Stroke. Stroke is a little bit less prevalent, and we don't really see a heavy burden until we get to the 60 to 80 decades, and then our stroke risk as we get older than 80 is much higher. Costs. $1.51 billion every year for coronary artery disease, $62 billion for stroke, $66 billion for heart, that's for hypertensive related diagnoses, and then heart failure, $33 million. Just a staggering amount of money that we spend in this country managing cardiovascular disease. Okay, all right. So the good news is that we can change these statistics. These are not static statistics. So, and look at, actually, our curves are improving. Our death rate curves from the 70s to the 80s to in the last, it's actually hard to get updated data these days. So this is 2004. You can see we've hit our pinnacle of diseases in the 80s, and now our curve is improving. So our death from cardiovascular disease is better than it was. And if you break it into men and women, the curve really looks much better earlier on in men, and then women kind of lag behind. And this is a phenomenon of the medical community in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s not recognizing that women had different symptoms than men. Women don't have always crushing chest pain. They have some other symptoms. And so the medical community kind of was behind the eight ball in catching on to the fact that women had different symptoms. We do a whole lot better now in making diagnosis of heart disease in women, but there was a very long time where we were behind the power curve. And so that's why this curve up here was flat, and it was only really until the 2000s that we started doing a better job understanding that women's heart disease presents a little bit different than men. Okay, so, and then if you break up, what are the risk factors? You go to your doctor, and your doctor talks to you about your blood pressure. He talks to you about your cholesterol. He talks to you about your blood sugars. He talks to you about smoking. And for the most part, we have done really well from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s in decreasing blood pressure, in decreasing total cholesterol levels, improving our smoking rates, although the average smoking rate in the country is about 18%. We're still over 25% because we give them out for free or we give them out for low. So the idea that smoking is an inelastic commodity, that means people are going to smoke no matter what, is not true. Every time you raise the price of smokes, people smoke less, or they drive across the state line to buy it for cheaper. So that's something that we really do understand. So all these curves look good except for one. Look at the diagnosis of diabetes. Look at our curves for diabetes going up every year. And we'll talk about that. Why are our diabetic curves, why are we now more than ever diabetic? Well, look at this. Look at this curve from the 70s to 80s to 90s, right? So hypertension kind of flattens. There's a little blip in here. Cholesterol goes down. But look at this. We have been supersized. We are all much bigger. We're much more sedentary than we used to be. Just before, so I don't forget about this. There was 2 studies done, men and women. Men, it was really easy. They took men and kind of looked at globally what their work was back in the 70s and 80s, and they looked at it now. Average man in America burns 400 less calories every single day because he's not doing the same manual labor. It was harder to break that down for women, but a group out of Michigan broke this down, and women currently burn 350 less calories a day than they did in the 70s because the amount of housework has been improved. The type of work that they can do is so much more efficient now. Not that all women do housework. God forbid I get home and my wife, doctor wife, hears I said that. But that back in the 70s, homemaking was the major occupation. And so their work was a lot harder, and they burned 350 calories more every day that we don't. So one of the major contributing factors to our obesity is that we go to McDonald's and they supersize us, and we just don't burn the same amount of calories that we once did. Okay, so we keep people alive longer, but we keep people in the hospital more often. So as we get better at keeping sicker and sicker people alive, their hospital stays have increased. So that curve of hospitalization has increased. We keep people alive with very diminished heart function so much longer than we ever did, but those people will generally have 1 or 2 admissions in the hospital annually because of their conditions. So our hospitalization rates are up. And we cardiologists, we like to do stuff. We do balloons and stents. We do catheters. My group right now, there's only 200 hospitals in the country that are doing a procedure called TAVR, transaortic valve replacement. We can replace aortic valves through catheters now. No longer people have open heart surgery. So our catheter abilities to address disease are much better than they used to, but that comes at the expense of paying for more procedures. And in this same time where we become better and better at fixing blocked arteries with catheters, the number of cabbages falls off. So our open heart surgeries are dropping off because we can address so much more disease in the coronary system with balloons and stents. But we'll go to that one. So these are actually, every year there is a website called Spectacular, and they rate the best pictures on the web every year. So I go and steal these every year. So some of them are really incredible. All right, so why are we here? Let's talk about this whole phenomenon, atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is going to put my three little Jenks kids through college. So this is the deposition of cholesterol blockage in our body. We all start off, in fact, autopsies back from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the motor vehicle deaths in Louisiana in the early 200s. The amount of fatty streak, which is this, the early cholesterol, the amount of fatty streaks in our blood vessels for 20-year-old men is higher now than it ever was. So we have early deposition of atherosclerosis because of our diets. So we've done a whole lot better. We've really now, in the last couple of years, recognized that trans fats were terrible. We thought they were great. We could keep our ho-hos and Twinkies on the shelf for years because that stuff never broke down. It wasn't very good for our arteries. We're doing better with that. But the reality is that we put down more early atherosclerosis than we ever did. We are on the verge of this generation being the first generation that does not live as long as the previous generation. And it's because of our early love affair with our fatty foods. So as we put cholesterol into our arteries, the anatomy of a piece of cholesterol, there's a fibrous cap, there's a gooey nougat center, and cholesterol sits there minding its own business until something happened. Some physical or environmental thing happens and that piece of cholesterol breaks. When that piece of cholesterol breaks, the gooey center gets into the bloodstream. The bloodstream was never designed to have gooey stuff floating around. The blood in your body was designed to keep you alive, and if there was things in your blood, it's not supposed to be there. If your arm got bitten off by the saber-toothed tiger, you're supposed to clot it off. So the body never really had a mechanism of recognizing this is cholesterol goo from its own self in the artery. It throws a blood clot on top of it. That's a heart attack. If it throws a blood clot and the blood vessel is not completely occluded, but enough is getting through, but keep you alive, but not have a heart attack, we call that angina, that chest pain. I don't have blood, muscles screaming out. Women don't have the crushing chest pain. Women just have fatigues. They have shortness of breath. They have arm pain. They have jaw pain, elbow pain. I've heard it all. Women can follow whatever they want to. Men classically have crushing chest pain. When you're having crushing chest pain, you either are trying to clot off an artery or you have clotted off an artery. And that's the time that you come rushing in by ambulance, right? So this is the same phenomenon for strokes. It's the same phenomenon for people who block off their legs. When blood flow stops, tissue dies. Brain, heart, toes, all the same final common pathway. This is what it looks like. This is a section of a coronary artery in someone who died from a heart attack. This was a nice piece of cholesterol right here. That cholesterol broke through. It got into the bloodstream, and this is the blood clot that killed this person. I thought that looked like the blood clot. All right, so what are the risk factors? We kind of know these things. Some things you can't, they are what they are, right? You can't change them. How old you are. As we get older, this is a process that continues. Men, sorry, we don't live as long as them. It's just the nature of our disease. Our cardiovascular disease burden is higher. And if you come from people who come from people who come from people who have disease, you're living in a shallow gene pool, just like me. All right, what are the risk factors that we can do something about? Hypertension, your lipids, your cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, obesity, physical inactivity. We talked about physical inactivity. And inflammation. This is kind of where we are, the new kind of frontier. So you can go to your doctor and he can do a marker of inflammation, high sensitive CRP. That's important for people who don't have disease. If you have a couple of stents or a bypass, your doctor doesn't have to order a marker of inflammation. The cat's out of the bag. You got it. These are for people who may or may not have disease, who may or may not come from a family who have heart disease, but they themselves have no symptoms. Markers of inflammation. There are some people who have cholesterol that's unstable. I talked about that piece of cholesterol. What makes one piece of cholesterol stable and one piece of cholesterol unstable? Sometimes it's inflamed. And now we actually have studies going on where we put a marker, a little tube inside the blood vessel. We measure the heat of the pieces of cholesterol to see which one is ready to pop or not. So inflammation is kind of the new buzzword and is really the forefront of where we're going in terms of trying to figure out, in our word, the thing that we call it is the vulnerable plaque, which is the one that when I get on the treadmill is going to crack, or more importantly, big guy like me who hasn't done a lick of exercise, wakes up, there's snow coming down, he grabs a shovel, he goes out. Cardiologists hate snow. Not because we can't, we all have four-wheel drive, it's because you go out and shovel, you have a heart attack. So when it's snowing, I'm heading to the hospital because that guy who hasn't done exercise for a year, shoveling his driveway, is going to have a heart attack. I'm waiting for you. All right, what are the other things? So people's type A personalities, really, we can't quantify it, but we know it's true, right? I mean, it really is. Those people really do have a higher risk. And if you're drinking too much, it is a direct myocardial toxin. So the ironic part about alcohol is moderate alcohol actually has a survival benefit, right? So, in women, 1 drink every couple of days, in men, 2 drinks every couple of days raises HDL, raises good cholesterol, but that's a slippery slope. 3 drinks a night for a woman, too much alcohol. So you got to figure out what that is, but there really is a beneficial effect of moderate alcohol consumption, just not too much, whatever that definition really is. And it really is based on your body size. Little people can't really have that much alcohol. And really don't do drugs, because every single weekend I see people who do that crack cocaine and meth and ice and all that slop, and they're coming in heart attacks every weekend. Okay, so I've kind of tried to scare the hell out of you about all this stuff. We should just go sign out our wills because we're all going to drop over. It's not really true. What if I could offer you an opportunity to change your statistics? Cut your risk of heart attack in half every year. Would you do it? Sure you would. What is it? Is it a pill? It's a cream? It's natural. Oh, everybody loves natural stuff. My father-in-law is a practicing physician. He's 70-year-old. He says, Frank, I know a natural product that everybody can use. It's manure. So I'm not saying that there is no virtue in natural products. I'm just saying there's no science, for the love of God. All right, there, I'm better. All right. It's not a pill. It's not cream. If you want to eat manure, you can do that. It's not going to help you. But what is it? There it is. This is it. This is the key to human existence right here, right? We were designed as cavemen and cavewomen. At 3 o'clock in the morning, our body puts out hormones to prepare us for the day. We wake up with the highest blood pressure of the day. Why was that? Because you also woke up and you were hungry. You had to go out and walk and hunt and look for food. We are hunters and gatherers. We're not people who are supposed to sit on our arse. We were not designed that way. This is how we protect ourselves. Is it bad to say arse? Okay, just checking. All right. All right, here we are. I don't know what that is. Okay, but you have to run a marathon. It's got to be all out to get the benefit, right? Wrong. Sure, there are increased benefits from incredible exertions of exercise, but that's not the case. So everybody's heard of the Cooper Clinic. Dr. Blair from the Cooper Clinic followed 70,000 people for 18 years, and they took histories and they put them on treadmills and they watched all this data for 18 years. Come on, baby. There you are. So they put them on a treadmill, and they really looked at how long they could exercise on a treadmill. They use a bulky protocol. We use a Bruce protocol. It doesn't matter. Get on a treadmill, run until you get tired, and stop. They measured fitness as unfit. The people who had 20% of the lowest amount of time on the treadmill, the next 40%, and the greatest 40%. So unfit, moderate fitness, and high fitness. The moderate fitness people were the people who could do about 30 minutes, 5 days a week of some sort of exercise. So we're not talking about hell-bent for election. We're talking about getting on the elliptical, getting on the Stairmaster, getting on the treadmill for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That's what we're talking about. So, mortality rates. Look at low, moderate, high. So if you are a couch potato, you die sooner than people who aren't couch potatoes. End of story. This study has been done, redone. Independent variables, diabetes, family history, known coronary disease, smoking, all of that stuff. What is the single biggest predictor of who lives, who dies? Fitness. So, unfit. What about the people who were unfit and then got fit? This is where that statistic comes from. If you just decided to do something, if you decided to be an exerciser, you dropped your risk of stroke and heart attack 50%. If you were always fit, you have a 70% risk reduction compared to the unfit people of America. So it's huge. But Gaffney, it's got to be that the harder you go, the more benefit you get. It's got to be, right? That's why I'm pushing myself every day. I get on that treadmill, I go harder and harder and harder, and then I can't do it anymore, so I stop because, Actually, no, it is not that at all. Incredibly enough, that the benefit, the survival benefit, came from the first 10 minutes of exercise, not how long you could really go. The curve got a little bit better, but it wasn't. The main survival benefit was in moderate exercise, not hell-bent for election. Yeah, I don't know where that is. All right, so let's just look at this. This is a map. This is a measurement of what happened to us in America. This is 90s, and this is, the blue represents people who are 30 pounds overweight, and the percentage of people in the state who are 30% overweight. So this is, right here, you'll see these different colors down here, blue, dark blue. So this is greater than 30% of the populations in these states who are overweight and a BMI of 30. Let's just kind of watch this happen. 92, 93, 94. Here we go. Whoa, right? So just watch this. 2001, 2003. Colorado still looks good. But that's before marijuana. You wait. Right? Yeah, they're gonna catch up quick. So, in the business, what we call this area down here? Well, yeah, money, but this is the barbecue belt right here. That's where we like our barbecue, right down there. So, pretty sobering about how big we got, right? We have just really not kept up with our fitness. We've not kept up with our weight. All right. So, doctor, the problem with me is that obesity runs in my family. No, honey, the problem with you is that nobody runs in your family. Jessica, I did it with the New York accent for you. All right. Oh, I could never do this. No way. I just show this to my wife. She gets weak at the knees just looking at that. All right. So what's the real skinny on being fat, right? So you might have noticed that here I am telling you to get skinny. I'm a fat guy, right? So how can a fat guy be giving me any instructions about how to live longer? Well, it turns out that as a predictor of survivability, obesity really is not one of the highest predictors. In fact, the fat, fit guy outlives the skinny couch potato. So look at the unfit and the fit guy, right? So this is the lean dude over here who doesn't exercise, and this is the fat guy who exercises. So it's incredibly, but the fat, fit guy outlives the skinny couch potato. So this is a look at diabetics, 2,100 people, diabetics, and they basically put them on the treadmill. And the definition of obese is having a BMI greater than 30. I am 5'10", 225 pounds. My BMI is 32. To get to my overweight status, I have to be 209 pounds. When I was in the United States Army and I was fit at 185 pounds, I was still overweight. So some of this is actuarial data. Some of this is not real life. If you have more muscle, when I was in the Army, the day I showed up, I was fat. But I could run and do all the things I needed to do. I was just bigger than what they would like. So the definition of obesity and BMI is not ubiquitous for everybody. So there are different body types, and so we take that into account. But how long you could walk on a treadmill, 8 metabolic equivalents. Metabolic equivalents is a workload. It's one of the ways we kind of see how much work you could do. Walking up 2 flights of stairs is 4 metabolic equivalents. Light jogging is 8 metabolic equivalents. So if you look at this, it shows that normal weight people, overweight people, the predictor of death was if you were unfit. If you couldn't do light jogging, that was a worse predictor than your weight. So that's the good news about this that's the dirty little secret about exercise. And Jessica and I, we say this every single day. Cardiovascular fitness, not fatness, is the goal of your life. One of the benefits of burning more calories is that you may or may not lose weight, but when you start exercising, you immediately begin to improve your survival curve. So, get over the fact that you have a fat belly and get on the treadmill anyway. All right. It kind of falls apart when your BMI gets greater than 35. Then, when you get really big, if your BMI is, then that survival benefit from big is not as robust. Yeah. So, how many people are fat and fit in America? How many people actually fit this diagnosis? Really, you know what? Overweight. 82% of people who are overweight actually in this study had good fitness. 60% of class 1 obesity, that's under a BMI of 35, 60% of those people actually were fit. So, fitness, not fatness. And even in people who had BMIs greater than 35 that we talked about was a little bit concerning, 30% of those people were fit. So, fitness, not fatness, is the goal. So, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 30 minutes a day or being dead for 24 hours a day? So, let's just talk about what this is. So, I'll give you a lot of information. Exercise happens in 10-minute blocks. If you do a thing for 10 minutes, you're exercising. Walking, sweeping, vacuuming, chopping, mowing, anything that gets your heart rate up and gets you sweaty, doing it is 10 minutes. If you do 3 15-minute walks a day, you get the same vascular benefit of doing 45 minutes of exercise a day. The American College of Cardiology, based on the study that I showed you, says 35 to 45 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. But you can break it into blocks, right? Exercise is walking. We saw that the benefit wasn't running. It wasn't hell-bent for election. It was walking. So if you just carve out 3 15-minute walks a day, and you do that routinely, you will cut your risk of stroke and heart attack in half. No pill I will ever give you. Lowering cholesterol down to rock bottom levels, 25%. Lowering blood pressure into rock bottom levels, perfect levels, 25%. Exercise, 50% risk reduction. By the way, I see some of my patients out here, and I'm going to come by and see what you had for lunch. Just checking on you. All right. What about people who have some limitations, right? What about people who don't have the physical capabilities to get on the treadmill? Anything that you do, finding an exercise. I get people in doing water aerobics. I get people doing ergonomy. Whatever you can do to get your heart rate up, you get the benefit. So find whatever that exercise is and get after it. All right. You never know what's underneath you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Well, we're probably out of time for questions, but you can come talk to Dr. Gaffney afterwards. We have a book for our adoptive school, The Fairy Princess Starts Exercising. If you would find that, that'd be great. I think we ought to think about doing the fun run with some Rotary T-shirts and kind of start walking and get ready for it for the Tulsa Run. Let's just think about that. All right. Thank you, Dr. Gaffney. You are great. Upcoming programs, Crescendo Music Awards next week. And then on February 26th, Eric Doss, the Tulsa School of Arts and Sciences, charter schools in Oklahoma. This is a hot topic. And John Delavadova has booked their jazz band for us to hear. So, John, thank you for making that happen. Now, this week's Mystery Rotarians. These are our Valentines. See if you can figure out who these people are. Okay, Norm, that's kind of a giveaway. Would you stand up back there? That's Norm and Dana Simon. Thank you. And, yeah, look at that. Bob and Renee Reed. Oh. You're really going to awe on this one. Who is that? Anybody tell? Jack, would you stand up? Look at that young Jack. That's so cute. Now check this out. Look, who is that? Isn't that just beautiful? Linda and Wayne. Yay. There's a tight shot, Miss Linda. Now. Oh, there's Jack again. Cute, cute. That is not Forrest and Sharon, but that is Jack and his wife. Now who is that? Who is that? Does anybody know? Anybody want to guess? Eric Ortega. And Miss Linda. And let's see if there's one more. I think, is that it, guys? Okay. All right, well, I had a cute shot of Forrest and Sharon, but I'm not sure where it is. Forrest, we'll make that up to you. Thank you all so much, and I can't wait to see everybody who's coming on Friday to our Valentine's event at the Woody Guthrie, and I think you can still make that happen if you talk to John Raines. Have a great week, and happy Valentine's Day.